their facilities with 100% solar energy by 2030. As the first subscriber to the OUC Community Solar business in 2018, the City of Orlando paved the way for the pledge. Orlando City Soccer Club and Orlando Pride are also among the founding partners that signed onto this pledge. And that's just the latest in our mutual commitment to sustainability and innovation. For example, as you drove up to the stadium today, you likely saw the solar-powered sculpture titled Gyration. It was created by University of Central Florida students in partnership with OUC and installed just last year. And throughout the stadium, you'll see hydration stations installed by OUC to provide great tasting, high-quality drinking water while also practicing conservation. It's these types of innovative collaborations that power both OUC and our city. Let's take a look at this video showing a few of OUC's other innovations helping to move our city forward.
For nearly a century, OUC has provided safe, dependable, and affordable electric and water service to our customers. Over the years, you've come to know us as the reliable one because of our steadfast dependability, and as the sustainable one too, for our commitment to environmental stewardship. By 2030, OUC will have more than 1,500 megawatts of solar energy powering the grid as we work toward our goal of net zero CO2. We're one of the first electric utilities in the nation to explore the capabilities of hydrogen as a clean energy source. We're leading the charge on electric vehicle adoption through innovative electrification programs. As our future transforms, we're keeping our community top of mind, developing creative programs to encourage conservation. All of these together put us on the path forward as we've committed to achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Learn more at ouc.com.
Hope you enjoyed that film. As you can see, we're planning for the future, and partnerships with entities like the City of Orlando are critical to ensuring a sustainable next generation. From public EV charging stations to electric buses with links to solar projects, we're forward-thinking and diversifying our portfolio with renewable energy to ultimately meet our goal of net zero carbon emissions. As we look ahead, we continue to improve the present by providing our customers with safe and reliable energy and water services, while always identifying new innovative collaborations to lead us and our partners to a cleaner, greener future. We're dedicated to helping improve the lives of those we serve and building a better community for us all. I look forward to hearing more from Mayor Dyer in just a few minutes. Enjoy the rest of today's program. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the City of Orlando's Poet Laureate, Sean Welcome.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. As we think about working together and the continued development of downtown, I've appropriately titled this poem, Legos. Reds, yellows, and greens govern daily traffic scenes, taking vertical turns to shine bright, working together for the greater good of us all getting to work on time. So simple yet so complex. Add blue to the mix and you might think of Legos. You know, the plastic pieces parents hate to step on. Fit together perfectly and with the right blueprint, poof, a colorful, pixelated kingdom of sorts. A child's dream, a mama's pride. Former 4-inch blocks put differences aside, connected at the hip, and what do you know? A battleship. Or Home Alone's home, or multicolored pyramids. Our colors control the flow of traffic, our shapes, not as impressive sitting alone. Our pieces, our parts, our partners make building blocks a supernatural experience with hues beyond the color spectrums we're used to, and it's beautiful, so let go. Let's go, no matter the weather. From mass traffic flow to creations yet unknown, anything's possible if we do it together. Thank you. And it's now my pleasure to introduce to you the happiest mayor in the nation, Mayor Buddy Dyer.
Wow, isn't it great to be together? I hope you're feeling as good as I'm feeling. Isn't Sean probably the best poet laureate in all of the United States? Fantastic poem. So we practiced this morning and the sun was coming from the other direction. It's a lot nicer to be out here this afternoon. So good afternoon and welcome to our annual State of the Downtown event. And notice when I say annual, I'm using huge air quotes because it's been more than 2 years since we've gathered together for this event. And over the many months, I think we've made the right and responsible choice to pause our large in-house, in-person city events. But today we're back, we're vaxxed, and we are excited to be together again. First, in all sincerity, I want to thank you for being vaccinated and protecting one another, and that's why we can gather here today. So thank you for being vaccinated. Before we get to our program, I'd like to say a few words about the power of togetherness. This is the State of the Downtown event, and when most of us here in downtown Orlando, we think about places. Our skyline, Lake Eola, watching a Magic game at the Amway Center, Church Street, the UCF Valencia campus, your favorite restaurant, maybe this soccer stadium. But here's the thing. Buildings and iconic landmarks might be a physical representation of what a downtown is, but the soul of a downtown is being together. The soul of a downtown is about the unique experiences that can only be created when we are together. The soul of a downtown is about the memories that we make together. Unfortunately, for the last couple of years, a little bit of our soul has been missing. So how about if we pause just for a moment and celebrate the simple fact that we are together in our beloved downtown Orlando. Okay, for almost 20 years, State of the Downtown has served as a platform to celebrate our shared successes, establish goals for the upcoming year, continue to refine our vision for a vibrant, diverse, and prosperous downtown. The last 2 years have been unlike any in our downtown's history. So many of our neighbors have spent every day fighting to make sure that their businesses survive. Other workers still haven't returned full-time to downtown, and still others are trying to figure out what the future holds as our city, our state, and our country struggles with the questions about workforce, the economy, inflation, the supply chain, and on and on and on. As part of all that, the pandemic has ushered in a realignment of how people live and work and how companies locate and expand and do business. It makes sense that if much of our lives and economy are in flux, then so is the state of our downtown. But being in flux is not the same as being in trouble. Because of the work that we've done together, downtown Orlando is well positioned to take advantage of these new dynamics. That's the focus of today's program. Where downtown is right now, where we're headed, what are the challenges in front of us, what are the opportunities, and why we've got so much to be excited about. The format for today's event is going to be a little different than the past years. Rather than a formal, boring speech from the mayor, you're supposed to say, "You're not boring, Mayor." We're going to do something a little bit more personal. We're going to do the embodiment of what it means to be together. We're going to have a town hall style meeting. So we want to hear from you, your questions, your concerns, your constructive criticism, emphasis on constructive. What reasons do we have to celebrate? What challenges are impacting you? In terms of organization, we're going to have 5 distinct conversations covering 5 different topics: development, business growth, downtown amenities, housing and homelessness, and mobility. Feel free to take some time and come up with some great questions. I'm so excited to have these conversations and hear from all of you. So you'll see our staff members around with microphones at the ready so everybody can hear your questions. So our first topic is development and downtown Orlando. And where do we start? We always have to start at this point with Creative Village. We have spent the last 15 years making progress in redeveloping 68 acres into the most robust educational ecosystem in the entire state of Florida, infused with a mix of places to live and work. Our vision has really sprung to life during the last 2 years, and we're going to hear a lot about what's happening in Creative Village because it touches all of our topic areas: affordable housing, arts and culture, public space, mobility. Add to that the incredible development that's occurring throughout our downtown and at Advent Health and Orlando Health that flank our downtown. Here's an important fact for you. Historically, downtown Orlando has added one major office building every 10 years. Right now, we're on pace to shatter that record. 2 office towers were just completed, and 2 more are getting ready to start construction at Church Street and Creative Village. In total, we've got more than $5.7 billion in projects proposed or under construction. That means development did not slow down during the pandemic. It actually sped up. So what do you want to know about development downtown? Turn your attention to the screens, and I'll take your questions after the video. Okay, who's got the first question? Right in the middle. Yep. Okay, the question was, and our beautiful people holding the mics weren't quite there, but I was wondering about the Under Eye project and whether it's moving forward. So we want to create additional public space in our east and west. So for so long, I-4 has divided the east part of our town from the west part, Paramore and the downtown. So when the I-4 Ultimate started, we conceived the idea that we're going to have 5.5 blocks underneath I-4 that we can repurpose into a park. DOT went along with that idea, and we have developed that idea over the course of the however long I-4 Ultimate's been going on, which is a long time. But I-4 Ultimate is going to be done at the end of this year. You see a lot of progress, and the end of this year is like 2 weeks away, so end of this year. And we have engaged architects that are already doing the planning process. There'll be a lot of public participation and what we end up having underneath, but 2023 we will be done with design and start construction, and Under Eye will be complete in early 2025. So it is underway. It's going to be an exciting project, and with the federal infrastructure bill, one of the uses of funding is to reconnect communities that were divided by highways. So we think we might be in line to get a little federal funding to help us along the way as well.
Mayor, stage left. Mayor.
Okay.
This is admittedly a little bit of a softball, but I know that we look at other cities for best practice across a number of different areas. I wonder if other cities in your time look at us. Do you have visitors from other cities who come here and say, how are you doing this?
Absolutely. We have a lot of groups. Actually, I was with the mayor of New Orleans recently, and she wants to bring a business group here after the first of the year to take a look at Creative Village and how they might be able to do something like that. New Orleans, we've had Anaheim was here maybe a couple of years ago, and they thought it was how remarkable, what a great working relationship we have with Disney, because they don't have that same type of working relationship out there. But we get a lot of people that come and try to loan ideas, or we try to loan some good ideas from them. And I love softball questions. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Mayor, the third question is over here to your right.
Jamila? Dr. Cartwright. Yes. Here's the new president of the University of Florida, Dr. Cartwright.
Central Florida.
What did I say? University of Central Florida?
Central Florida.
Okay,
yes.
Sorry. Go Knights, charge on.
Mayor Dyer, thank you. Charge on. I just had a question. You know, there's a lot of things happening, certainly in Orlando around economic development. And I was curious, considering the things that have happened with the pandemic and what we've learned, what are the things you're most excited about that have positioned us sort of differently than other places so that over the next 5 to 10 years we can see even more growth?
Well, one of the things is that none of our development really slowed down. If you look at our permitting in 2019 and 2020, it was pretty much level. We didn't lose any ground. And permitting in 2021 is way up above 2019. So people continue to want to move here, to want to work here, to want to live here. So I think we're in a pretty good position. The most important thing, quite honestly, is managing the growth and doing that right, and then investing in two things: housing, especially affordable housing, and then transportation. Mayor Demings is here, and he's going to push a 1 penny cent sales tax for transportation, and that's going to be important as we get between 1,000 and 1,500 people moving to Central Florida every week. So that's certainly important areas that we need to focus on. One more?
Mayor? Terry Olson.
Terry Olson.
Hey, in our experiential world and with these new parks going in under I-4 and Creative Village, are we planning the infrastructure for festivals? There's a lot of festivals happening in Central Florida, and it'd be great if we plan ahead as opposed to try to retrofit for that.
Yep, absolutely. And Fusion Fest is one of the great homegrown festivals. Immerse, another one. We're creating additional green space for different types of events. So we all focus on Lake Eola Park, and we focus on the front yard now at Dr. Phillips Center. But we've closed downtown on several occasions, this year, in fact, to be able to host very large events in our downtown area. We'll have Luminary Green over in Creative Village, which will be another place, but we want to be a place where we can host great events. Okay, shall we move on to the next part? Thank you for those great questions. Okay, let's move on to the second discussion topic: business activity and small businesses in downtown Orlando. The last time we gathered at this event, we announced that Electronic Arts was coming downtown and building a state-of-the-art office facility with 1,000 employees. Just 2 short years later, EA's new Orlando studio is complete. EA is a great example of our shared plan to ensure downtown Orlando is a regional hub for high-wage, high-value careers of the future. Livability, mobility, accessibility are many of the reasons businesses like EA are choosing downtown. The same is true for Assured Partners, which relocated its global headquarters, and Sonesta International Hotels, which opened a new shared services center in downtown. Both of these companies are employing residents at salaries in excess of $85,000 a year. And of course, business in downtown Orlando doesn't just mean corporate headquarters and big brands. Our locally owned and beloved small businesses, like those in our main streets in Paramore, are vital to our future. They're what makes our urban core a truly special place. As mayor, I get to participate in a lot of ribbon cuttings, and my kids, when they were growing up a little younger, they thought that was my primary responsibility as mayor, was cutting ribbons. So Trey Dyer is here somewhere. So Trey, that is actually not all that I do as mayor of Orlando. But honestly, I can't remember when I participated in as many. So we've welcomed businesses like Dexter's Birdland, the Monroe, the 808, Mikado's Bakery, House on Church, Blue Swan Boulders, Eat the Frog. And we've cut the ribbon on the new AC by Marriott, the Hilton Home 2 Suites, and celebrated the opening of new Class A office space at the SunTrust Tower. So continuing to develop a diverse business ecosystem is how we attract and retain employers, and how we attract and retain talent. And it's how we continue to build a resilient downtown that's an engine for shared prosperity. Okay, who's got a question related to our small business environment in downtown?
To your right, Mayor.
Can you talk about the new rules for the small restaurants with liquor licenses, the SRX type?
Yeah, so to have a liquor license, you have to serve or have a square footage of some amount and serve a certain amount of customers and a percentage of your business. And we found that with some of the small restaurants that are in, especially our Main Street districts, that are squeezed into smaller space, they couldn't comply with those rules. So we went to Tallahassee, and with the thanks of the 2 state reps that are here, changed some rules specifically for the Main Street districts to make it easier for smaller restaurants in our main streets to have liquor licenses. And we know that makes a lot of money for them. And then secondly, I think Belle Isle and maybe Apopka are following suit and asking the legislature to help them out with that as well. But we want to make sure that our small businesses are successful. Okay, Mayor, what challenges did you have during COVID? And, oh, we've got one.
I wasn't fast enough. Mayor, right here. Thank you.
Are there any gaps in the types of small businesses that you're trying to attract to downtown?
Gaps in small businesses. We would like to have a little bit different mix of entertainment at night. We're a little bar heavy in terms of what's in our downtown, and just being candid about that. We have, between 10 and 15,000 people on Thursday, Fridays, and Saturday nights, and as many as 50,000 on big event nights like New Orleans. So we would like to have a little bit more family-friendly entertainment, or places that I might go to, for instance, after I leave the Performing Arts Center. So that's an area I think we need to do some work on. Okay, I'll ask that one question that I was thinking of. So,
Mayor, we do have a question over here.
Okay, I'm not very good at this spotting. Okay, there we go, Kelly.
Mayor, I'd like to hear what your favorite small businesses are downtown.
Oh, that's a nice one. That's like choosing between Trey and Drew, and today it's Trey, obviously, so he's here. But you know what I really like about all the small businesses? We've created these robust main streets all over our community, and they're all so diverse and different and successful. If you go to Ivanhoe or College Park or Audubon Park, just such cool restaurants and different things, and they're all working together. And I can't really pick just one business. I will plug one, though. House on Church is something that's a little different than most of the experiences that you would see, and is putting in a nice stabilization for Church Street.
Thank you, Mayor. We do have another question in this section.
Thank you. Maybe this is the elephant in the room, but we want to attract families to come downtown and to enjoy themselves, but we know that there's the obvious problems that we're having with the homeless population, and we say we're going to solve them, but we still haven't been able to bridge that gap. Is there a plan for a long-term strategy?
Well, there's two aspects. I thought you were going to ask about the nighttime activities. I have a whole section on homelessness coming up, so why don't we save that particular question for segment number 4. So the last question that I had that was coming to mind was, are there any things that you did during COVID that you've continued to carry over for the businesses? And we really looked hard during the pandemic to make sure that we did everything that we could do to help our small businesses. The CRA did $1 million worth of rental assistance to various businesses, I think 60 to 65 of those. And then, of course, we had the parklets, we had reduced permitting, and we also helped businesses expand to outdoor spaces in their parking lots. So we're going to maintain the parklets, and we're also going to try to help businesses continue to use public space and parking lots for outside dining. As you've found, that's great area for them to expand into. Thank you for those great questions. Okay, let's move to our third discussion topic, a fun one. Downtown amenities, the arts, events, community venues, and green space. We just talked about why having a unique ecosystem of businesses is important for our future, but we also know that those businesses and their workforce demand a wide array of leisure offering. That's why we initially invested in our community venues, Amway Center, Camping World Stadium, and Dr. Phillips Center. And we're excited to announce the final theater, Steinmetz Hall, will open next month. How about that? Just for the record on how fast things can or can't get done, I ran on building a performing arts center the first time I ran for mayor, and that was 2003. So this is 2021, and we're finishing what the original concept was. So you have to have persistence on some of these big things. With our venues, we've proudly declared that there isn't an event that we can't host in our downtown, and we're putting that declaration to the test as we pursue some massive global events such as World Cup and World Pride that we might have both in 2026. And we've got a stacked slate of major events coming, including any Billy Joel fans or Garth Brooks fans, both at Camping World for their only Florida shows. We are hosting 3 bowl games again this year, including the Cure Bowl, which is obviously right here in this stadium, as you can see. We're having a banner year for non-sporting events and family shows at the Amway Center and Camping World. Our previous record in a single year was 43 shows, and we have already surpassed that and are on pace to shatter that record by over 50%. But to fulfill our shared vision for DTO, we must continue to infuse downtown with even more culture and arts. Together, with our partners, we're planning the Holocaust Museum and the National Pulse Museum and Memorial. And we're also redefining what it means to be a community venue. Through investments like Art Squared, Luminary Green at Creative Village, and the Under Eye, we're adding new, unique public spaces to our list of venues. These shared spaces and green spaces are magnets for our residents and visitors. They provide great platforms for homegrown events such as Immerse and Fusion Fest, and all the way to family picnics. And Kathy DeVault wants to have all of the UCF grads take a graduation picture at Luminary Green, Dr. Cartwright. So we're working on a great spot for that. And what a fun discussion. What amenities and events do you want to see in downtown Orlando? Okay, this should be a fun one. What do we got? Doug?
Hi, Mayor. Ultimately, I don't really have a question about what specific events I'd like to see, but more an understanding for locals or even tourists of awareness of the events that already exist that seems to be lacking when I engage with people locally or tourists.
So I don't know if Cassandra Mate is here or not. There's Cassandra. Stand up, Cassandra. Not everybody knows you. So Cassandra Mate, and it's mate like latte like mate, is the new president of Visit Orlando. And we've had more interaction with a downtown as a visitation space and collaboration with Visit Orlando than I think in the history of the organization. So I think that you're going to see a lot of emphasis on advertising events for our downtown, and that's a big piece of the entertainment pie, not just iDrive and not just Disney, but bringing people to the downtown. And you know, we have a downtown that has an advantage or a disadvantage, whichever way you want to look at it. You can come to the airport and go to Disney, you can go to iDrive, or you can go to Universal and not be within 5 miles of our downtown. So in some ways, Some people say that's great. We don't have 65 million people visiting our downtown, but in other ways, a lot of people that come to Orlando don't even know that we have a downtown. And then when they get there, it's like, oh man, this is so cool. I wish we had known about that. So we're going to make every effort to continue to market downtown, but also use the partnership with Visit Orlando to magnify that.
Mayor, I have one right here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What's the current status of our chances to get a World Cup game or two here in Orlando, and what changes will have to be made to our infrastructure to support that?
So World Cup has been awarded to North America for 2026, and that includes Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Right now they're going through a process to determine who the host cities for either the group play or knockout play or even the championship games will be, and Orlando is in the mix. There are three cities from Mexico. There were 3 from Canada. There's 2 now, so there's going to be either 10 or 11, maybe 12 communities from America, and there are 17 that are vying for that. We've had visits from the committee that is going to make those determinations. Our site visit to look at the stadium was awesome. It went great. We had a Human Rights Committee meeting last week, and I don't think I'm sharing any secrets, but Jason told me that the committee said we knocked it out of the park, as you would expect here in Orlando, that on human rights we could probably do that. So I'm very optimistic about us getting that, and they've expanded the field to 48, so there'll be more games available. So if we are one of the host cities, we are likely to have 5, 6, or even 7 games. And the last thing that is promising, we've heard from the committee, is they're looking at clusters of communities so that during group play, you won't have a game in Orlando, Seattle, and Boston as your 3 group play. You might have them in, well, Orlando, Miami, and Atlanta, which I think would be a fantastic cluster. So I'm very optimistic about that. Is Jason here?
Right here, Mayor. To your left.
Okay, Jason Siegel and his crowd, or his group at Go Sports Orlando, is doing a fantastic job. So let's thank him for the work that they're doing. And I don't ever have a lot of chance to compliment Governor DeSantis. So just take note that for one day, one moment, I'll thank the governor and the state of Florida for the $10 million that they are dividing $5 million to Orlando and $5 million to Miami to support the bids for World Cup.
Mayors. Mayor, stage left.
So in regards to bringing people downtown and increasing our demographic here, when it comes to the infrastructure of bringing people in, later trains, things along that line, to make it more accessible yet less congested and make it easier for people from all over the area to come down here, what are the plans for that, if any?
So I'm going to refer to the sales tax initiative. Again, Mayor Deming, you're probably enjoying that aspect of it. But, you know, one of the goals when we got Sunrail initially, we had Sunrail the first 17 miles, and then we did the other 2 pieces, and the last piece is going up to DeLand, from Deltona to DeLand. But eventually, we have to have Sunrail go to the airport. And when Sunrail goes to the airport, that means we're going to have more frequent service, and we're going to have 7-day-a-week service. And there's also a proposal, Brightline wants to go, they're going to be here in Orlando from Miami to the Orlando International Airport this coming year, next year. And then they want to go from there on to Tampa. There's been a community discussion about what the route would be, but one of the routes that is being discussed would go from the airport to International Drive and then on to Disney. And if we did that, then we would do east-west Sunrail traffic on that as well. So that would extend the ability to get to a whole lot of places via Sunrail if we can get that expansion done. But it's hard to do that if we don't pass the penny sales tax because of the operational cost. It's not the capital, it's really the huge thing. It's the operation to get that done. And we would also be able to obviously expand the links system, which has never had a dedicated funding source, and it would be important that they have that. And then there's always scooters for that last mile. I was a scooter hater and said we'd never have scooters in our downtown, but they have worked out pretty well, except according to Commissioner Sheehan, because I keep leaving the scooters in her yard and not picking them up. But we're looking at all types of different mobility and then making it easy to get around, which we'll talk about in the last section of this program.
Mayor, Center.
Yes, Mayor, let me make sure that's on. Thank you for your support of the arts, first of all. It's been undying. I appreciate that. Can you talk a little bit about Orlando Museum of Art's expansion into downtown and what will happen with the existing gallery? And also, if you could update us on the Manello Gallery's plans.
Okay, I'm not a wealth of information on the Museum of Art. I know that they have at one point looked at Lake Nona as a potential for expansion and are now working with one of the developers of a future downtown tower, which is going to be extremely nice, to look at whether they could put a portion of the museum in downtown Orlando. And I haven't been briefed up recently on how that's faring. But the Museum of Art is a great treasure, and whether they decide to recreate something different on the existing site that they have or move to one of the other potential locations, we're obviously going to be extremely supportive of them. The Manello, we have big plans for. The Manello is owned by the city of Orlando and is a treasure that Michael and Marilyn Manello donated a lot of art to create it originally, and we have some plans to expand that significantly and make it a real treasure for our community. Okay, our fourth topic is housing and the ongoing challenge of homelessness. We talked about progress in downtown amid historic challenges, and the reality is that many of the challenges that existed prior to 2020, they remain today, and some have been exacerbated by the pandemic. This includes the availability of housing for residents at all income levels. Our downtown must be a downtown for everyone, and that means every person, regardless of their economic status, has access to quality housing that they can afford and can share in everything that makes living here so special. That's why the city has invested more than $21 million into affordable housing in downtown. And listen to this, this investment has yielded roughly $250 million in private investment. So we're putting in $1 and we're getting $10 for every dollar that the city's putting in. It's led to construction of new apartments, homes, rehabilitation of existing rental units. In total, since 2017, we have helped build or rehabilitate more than 1,000 units of affordable housing in downtown. And this includes increasing our inventory of permanent supportive housing to provide a home for those who have previously experienced homelessness. And using the Housing First model, our goal is to connect our most vulnerable neighbors with a permanent home. We want every single resident to have access to a safe place to sleep, to have their basic needs of clothing and food and hygiene met. And that's why the city invests $4 million each year to nearly 20 partner agencies for programs that support those experiencing homelessness. Fighting homelessness is not simple, it's not easy, but we can't waver. Our region is known for the power of partnership to solve all of our complex challenges, and collaboration is the key to overcoming the challenge of homelessness. So I'll pick up on that question said that I would answer in this segment. And a lot of great not-for-profits and local governments that are working hard on the issue of homelessness in our community. And we are using the Housing First model in terms of getting people into housing. And right now, we have housed through permanent supportive housing over 400 individuals that 99% are still housed from the time that they entered that housing market. So think of that, 400 people that we have taken either out of the woods or off the street and given them wraparound services. But there's a low and housing prices are high. We've worked as a city to try to overcome that the best we can, but that's a issue that needs to be solved on a regional basis. I know that our members of the legislature are fighting hard to keep the Sadowski Fund from getting raided every year like it has been for about the last 10 years. But some of the things we've done in our community, we have the Paramore Asset Stabilization Fund. So in collaboration with a not-for-profit that purchased 85 homes in Paramore, we put $1 million+ in for the rehabilitation, and OUC worked on making them more energy efficient. So that's keeping 85 people in their homes at the same rates that they were rather than having the rent climb. Paramore Oaks, phases 1 and 2 are both affordable projects, and we're, I've talked a little bit about Creative Village, but that's our sparkling new jewel, right? We put affordable housing in Creative Village. So Amelia Court 1 and 2 both have affordable housing units in it. There are 256 units, and there's 177 of them that are affordable. So we're putting our money where our mouth is. And two that I'm particularly proud of is Richard Allen Gardens is a apartment complex in Paramore that has Commissioner, maybe 30 units, something like that. And we put $1 million into renovating that, and they are just wonderful places to live now without the price going up. And when you think about affordable housing, you think about the new project that will build or scattered housing. But one of the other things that we did is Baptist Terrace is one of those senior high-rises in downtown Orlando, and it was funded with HUD money back when they were doing that, and they were required to keep it affordable for some number of years. Well, that number of years came up a couple of years ago, and it looked like that building was going to be sold to private development for market rate housing, and we were able to work with ONIC. We put in $1 million, and the total project ended up being about $36 million, and they totally revamped that and kept, 197 units of affordable housing for seniors, and that will be affordable through 2041. And that's another important one that we were able to do and leverage. We put in $1 million and got a $36 million project. Other questions on that?
Mayor, we have another question to your right.
Mayor, working on the front lines with you and the commissioners, I want to take this opportunity to commend you because this city is making a great effort to solve problems in this very complicated field. So I want to salute you and the city commissioners for that, and thank you for that. Question for you. What efforts are being made to bring together private industry, government, and nonprofits, because when we work together, we're a healthier community?
I 100% agree with you on that, and we can't solve either the affordable housing issue or the homelessness issue without all three participants, the not-for-profits, the local government. Certainly local government can't solve it on our own. So we're willing, and we think that we have a pretty good partnership with the three groups that you mentioned, because we have not-for-profits, 20 or so, that are engaged in the work. We have for-profit businesses that are helping to build the housing that we need, or to make available housing for permanent supportive housing. So I feel like we're doing a lot of that already, but continue to expand on that. Okay, I have one last question in this area that I would like to ask. Okay, if you're a business, how can you help, segueing off of that question, how can you help in regard to homelessness? So there's two aspects of this. One is don't give to anybody that's soliciting on the street. That's not going to help them. Give to the agencies that can give them a meal or give them social services, and there are a lot of those that do fantastic work, so I would encourage that. And those of you that are concerned about people that are soliciting, the best way to not have them soliciting in certain areas is by not giving them money on a street corner or an intersection. And that sounds a little hard-hearted, but it's what's best for our community. So I'd encourage that. And then I'm going to tell you just a quick little story about a woman named Marissa. So Marissa found herself homeless through a variety of circumstances a few years ago and ended up at the Coalition for the Homeless. And she was there about 9 months or so and didn't know how she was ever going to get out of poverty, how she was ever going to move out of the coalition. And she had a caseworker that cared deeply about her and recommended to her that she come right over here next door to the Christian Service Center. And housed at the Christian Service Center is an organization called First Step Staffing. And First Step Staffing provides all the normal things that a staffing company would do. But they also do background checks and drug testing, one-on-one mentoring, and they find jobs for homeless individuals. So for the last about 2 years, Marissa has been working in the City of Orlando parking division and now has her own apartment, is lifting herself up. So if you want to know something you can do, every business I talk to is having a hard time finding people to go to work. So if you have entry-level jobs or small skilled jobs that can employ people, think about contacting First Step Staffing right over here at the Christian Service Center. And if you need us to make that contact, we could do that. But I would encourage you, if you're a small business and need some additional staffing, to think about that. Thank you for those questions, and we will move to our fifth and final discussion topic, which is mobility. When you think about great cities, what comes to mind? Perhaps it's the ease and options of getting where you want to go, from meeting to meeting, from museum to park, from home to work, from one cool neighborhood to the next, for shopping and dining. Transportation is our final focused area of the day. As you can see, it connects to every other one of our focus areas that we talked about. It is literally the connection between development efforts, businesses, events, and cultural amenities. And as the economic and cultural hub of our region, our downtown must connect our urban core to the rest of the region, our airport, and our entire state. As a Central Florida community, we've made great strides in expanding these connections. By the end of the year, as I mentioned, I-4 Ultimate will be complete. Next year, Brightline begins service in Orlando, providing high-speed rail options from Miami to Orlando. And in our urban core, we've increased mobility options. Through a partnership with Lynx and OUC, our downtown bus circulator limo is now more efficient, operating on electric battery power. Our electric scooter system has seen more than 1 million scooter trips, with 1/4 replacing car trips. And next month, we'll start construction on the downtown connector trail and close the largest gap in our downtown loop, providing another safe route for pedestrians and bicyclists. As our downtown continues to grow, our transportation infrastructure will need to grow too. That's why we're launching a downtown master planning initiative. It's a massive undertaking that will examine how our residents and visitors travel in and out of and around downtown and explore ways to enhance those corridors. We're looking at changing Orange Avenue and Magnolia to two-way corridors. We'll conduct an in-depth walking audit and identify new gateways and festival streets throughout our core. And as you can see, there's a lot to talk about. So let's view the video. Okay, last segment of questions. Who's got a question?
Mayor, I've got one right here.
Me again.
Hobart gets 2 questions.
Sorry, yeah. Could you talk about Lake Eola, the big plans for around the lake, and also if Robinson is going to get its smart street or complete street thing we've talked road diet?
Absolutely. Still on for this? Are we still on? Yeah, we are still on with that. Okay, so we've been doing a new master planning process for Lake Eola that had substantial public input that we're bringing to a conclusion. Where we're going to get the money to do everything that is in that plan is another topic of discussion, but it is a fantastic retrofit to our beloved Lake Eola. So we're very focused on improving that part because I don't know how many millions of people visit that every year, and it's obviously the signature park in downtown feature, so much so that our city logo is the fountain in the park. Robinson is one of the streets that the DTO plan is very focused on, having a little traffic downsizing, going probably to 3 lanes, and then making it more pedestrian and bicycle friendly. So that is definitely on the books when we have the funding to do that.
Mayor, I have a question here to your left.
Hi, Mayor. I'm so excited to hear that Magnolia and Orange is still in the plan for looking at two-way streets. What is the status of that?
So that's, as I mentioned, as part of our master planning for the downtown. We've done a lot of work in North Quarter in looking at two-waying of those streets in that section, but we haven't studied as much below 50 and then down to City Hall. So that will be part of the master planning process that we're doing over the next year and a half.
Mayor Dyer, straight in front of you.
Hi, I want to first start by saying orlandoatplay.com is a great place to go to find out everything that's fun and culture and arts and history in Orlando. So check that out. My question for you is, though, with every major car company announcing their EV plans by 2030, 2035, what's the City of Orlando doing to get ready to enable that?
I'm just chuckling because that's Linda Ferroni, who's Vice President at OUC, who's helping us with our electric infrastructure planning. So we didn't plant that question necessarily, but it's a great question nonetheless. So, you know, with our Greenworks program, we have sought to be the most sustainable city in the Southeast United States, and by most objective measures, we have met that. One of the ways that we are doing that and reducing CO2 emissions is by being ready to be a community that can be a easy place to have an electric vehicle, because a lot of people that buy them or don't buy them is because of range anxiety and not knowing when and where they're going to be able to charge their vehicle. So it's important to have a robust infrastructure charging infrastructure, and we just did, well, with your help, 300 charging stations, and part of that infrastructure bill that Congress just passed does set aside money for specifically continuing to do that, so we hope to take the opportunity to get some of that funding as well. Wow, do I pull sprinkles? There was no way it was possibly going to rain today. So one last question, and then we will move on to the last segment.
Mayor Dyer, right over here to your right. I'm going.
Down in the expensive seats.
Feeling very fancy down here. My name is Christine Palkowitz, and my question for you is, with the development of the space tourism that's growing, are we playing any role in attracting talent to Florida, or to bring some of that business here in terms of headquarter locations or anything like that?
In terms of the space industry?
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, and we are very focused on being future ready, so that means playing in the area of eVTOL, so vertical liftoff and landing vehicles, autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles, all of them have bases here. We think we may end up being the first eVTOL community in probably the United States, so that'd be pretty cool. Beep is headquartered here with autonomous vehicles. I'll let you in on a little secret. We're trying to establish a beep route in downtown Orlando, so having some autonomous vehicles in our downtown. So we want to be able to embrace the technology, and then we're the only city that is working with NASA on some of the things that they're doing, getting ready for all of the space exploration. Pretty cool stuff. Okay. So that's what we have time for, and I'm going to go before it starts raining. So before we transition to our reception, I want to say a few thank yous. First, to my beautiful wife, Susie, for her love and support. Susie. As well as my oldest son, Trey, who's embarrassed that I've referenced him now 3 or 4 times during the course of this. But Trey, it's bad when you get a bigger ovation than I have throughout the course of the whole thing. To the members of the Orlando City Council who are here today, Commissioner Jim Gray, Commissioner Tony Ortiz, Commissioner Robert Stewart, Commissioner Patty Sheen, Commissioner Regina Hill, and Commissioner Bakari Burns. Would you guys just stand and let us put some love on you? Each of you represent different parts of our city, but each of those districts has a unique and equally important connection to our downtown. So thank you for all that you do for Orlando and for our downtown. No mayor in America, I can tell you, has better partners than you, and it's a privilege to work every single day with you guys. We're fortunate to have other elected officials here with us today. Please help me recognize Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings, who had to step away early, apparently. As did Travarius McCurdy, who was here earlier. And Anna has stuck it out. So much of what we've accomplished together is due in large part to the hard work of our Downtown Development Board and CRA. And this year marks our 50th anniversary of the DDB. And I'm pleased to acknowledge its Executive Director, Mr. Downtown himself. Thomas Chapman is here, and we're excited to have him and in great health. Thomas. We also want to thank the Downtown Orlando Partnership for its leadership in hosting this event. Thank you very much. As we heard earlier, it's the DOP's 60th birthday, so here's to another 60 years of progress and partnership in downtown. We want to recognize the ownership and leadership of our two hometown soccer clubs, our hosts today. Orlando Pride and Orlando City owner and Chairman Mark Wolf is here with us today with his executive board. Where are you, Mark? Hey, Mark, one of the questions that was supposed to come up is, what about an NFL game here in Orlando? And I thought, what a perfect place to have a Vikings-Buccaneers regular season neutral site game. So just think that one over just a little bit. Also joining us is the new Pride head coach, Amanda Cromwell. And the new Orlando City Orlando Pride President of Business Operations, Jared Dillon. I hope you'll accept this warm welcome to the City Beautiful. We started by talking about the importance of togetherness, and there's a kind of magic that happens when people get together and share time with one another at an event. And I hope you've all experienced a little bit of that today. I'm kind of joyful at this point and happy that this is almost over. But there's also another sort of togetherness that powers our downtown and our entire Orlando community. That togetherness comes from true partnership. It's the magic that happens when we work together, when we prioritize collaboration and compromise. We all have different reasons and motivations for why we care so much about downtown Orlando. Maybe it's the pride you feel when you see our skyline grow, or when you hear relatives from up north say they heard downtown Orlando is the place to be. Perhaps it's an opportunity, a new career at a company that's moving downtown. Maybe you've discovered a new favorite place to eat, or that spending time in your favorite park offers a little respite from a hectic work week. Perhaps your passion is helping others, or you're excited about the idea of ditching your car and using new forms of transit to get around. Or perhaps it's a million other opportunities waiting to be unlocked in downtown Orlando. But the point is, everyone who lives here, who works here, who learns here, who plays here, who invests here, everyone who has a connection to downtown has their own story. And together, these stories paint a powerful picture of the prosperous future that lies ahead for downtown Orlando. That picture, that mosaic of partnership, is downtown Orlando together. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of downtown, for sharing your thoughts, for your ambition and hopefulness, and contributing to meaningful experiences just like this one. Today, as Sean said, I am, in fact, the happiest mayor in America. May God bless America, our Orlando community, and the downtown that we love so much. Thank you.